So Charles Barkley basically called out exactly what's going on with race relations in the United States today. So during the Final Four show on Saturday, former NBA star and Inside the NBA analyst Charles Barkley said that politicians intentionally fuel racial divides in order to keep their grasp on money and power, and that the system is designed to foster hatred and to scramble the middle class. Correct. Absolutely correct. So he basically went on to say, but I think our system is set up to where our politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, are designed to make us not like each other so they can keep their grasp on money and power. They divide and conquer, he added, saying that people are stupid to follow politicians who create issues in communities they do not live in. I mean, this is something that I've been saying for the longest period of time. How is it that all these Democrats specifically are able to govern how black communities are run when they're all run terribly and they're all run by them? I mean, we saw this happen so many times. Look at the situation, if you remember, although this isn't a race relation situation, but when Nancy Pelosi was getting a blowout at the salon in California, I mean, she literally flew from DC all the way to California for this hair appointment and didn't wear a mask, gets called out on it, and all of a sudden she was set up. It's somebody else's fault. It clearly could not have ever been her fault. But notice, she's not even there. She's not even in the place where she's supposed to be. These people are out of touch with the society because they don't live amongst society. And when they do, all the exceptions are kind of taken away. The things that we have to live by, they don't have to live by anymore. Newsom's the same way. But let's take a look at Chicago, Detroit. Horribly run cities, by the way. Poverty-stricken, crime-stricken. There was, I think, like 35 people shot just this past weekend in Chicago. Nothing on the mainstream media will ever be covering this. You have to literally go to the local papers and websites to figure this information out. And those Democrats that are running these cities, I guarantee you, are not living in those neighborhoods. They don't have to. They can tell you how to live your life. They've been telling you how to live your life there, but they're not living there. They are in a rich part of the city, if they're at all, doing their own thing, basically just allowing all of the horrible things to happen in these cities. Meanwhile, they're championing these stupid movements talking about defunding the police of all things. Because the police aren't going to get defunded where they're at. And he actually, Charles Barkley, talked about this kind of stuff. So he went on to say, I truly believe in my heart, most white people and black people are awesome people, he said. But we are so stupid following our politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. And their only job is, hey, let's make these people not like each other. We don't live in their neighborhoods. We've all got money. Let's make the whites and the blacks not like each other. Let's make the rich and the poor not like each other. Let's scramble the middle class. As I mentioned before, never let a good crisis go to waste is oftentimes a statement that we make when we look at things like the coronavirus or whatever it is that comes up. And we say these things that are taking place in our society that are, if we can just create a panic amongst people, we can use that to push policies as a result of it. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we saw with George Floyd. The second that happened, all of a sudden, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. They're using that movement as a reason to do something. Meanwhile, ignoring all the facts that go along with it. If they can't find a crisis, then they make one up. Their goal is going to be entirely based off of trying to pit everybody against each other to push their agenda. When you know what their agenda is, you can clearly see exactly what they're trying to do. Because now we can actually look at these incidents and we can give a very good reason and understanding as to why Democrats, the mainstream media, refuse to cover incidents like what happened at the Capitol a few days ago. The suspect was white. The suspect was a black male and believed in Islam. They're not going to use that. They can't use that. So they're just going to ignore it. But they will pay more attention to all the incidents that fit their narrative. When we look at things like George Floyd and all of these other people that are, we look at the actual details, it's very easy to see that many of them should never have been in that position in the first place if they weren't committing crimes, if they weren't repeatedly resisting arrest, if they didn't have a ridiculous record and rap sheet. But we'll ignore all of that because the media wants us to, and just focus on the color of the person involved. I mean, this whole situation with the George Floyd trial right now, with Derek Chauvin, is literally, we're talking about, okay, was this neck restraint correct or not, or in the books or whatever. But let's be honest here. That's not what the media has been trying to sell us on. They've been telling us that Derek Chauvin is blatantly racist. But that's not something that's coming up in the trial, is it? I mean, there's no evidence showing that he is racist, but that is the way that the media wanted to portray this. That's the way that most people are looking at the situation immediately. They don't even think of anything else. This is all about trying to pit us against each other. Meanwhile, people like Tony Timba, a white man that was killed by police officers unjustifiably, they don't want to talk about. If you don't know who that is, you need to know who that is. Look him up, because it's stuff like this that the media tries to cover up because it doesn't fit the narrative that they're trying to push. Plain and simple. And they love this division. This is what they do. This is what they love to do. It's a bit of this division that got Biden elected in the first place. I mean, ignoring all the other stuff that took place, but a lot of the division is what they were trying to bank on, is to make everybody so mad. That's why 2020 was such a crazy year. It's no surprise, by the way, that all of those things took place in 2020, in the lead up to the election, right? 2020 was a crazy year. But what was the kind of end of the year that took place? It was on November 3rd, and all of a sudden things started to kind of taper off generally. But the point is still the same, that they assume people aren't paying attention to the facts. That's how they win these things, is that they assume that people aren't going to do their due diligence and actually look at what took place, and that's how they can divide people. So you have to be really stupid to fall into what they're trying to push and not actually paying attention to what actually took place realistically, because the facts are what really actually matter. They're the only things that really matter. You just watched a clip from the William Hall Show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.